Hello everybody, I'm Trupti and today we are going to study about diffusion and osmosis. So these are the very two important processes and they are similar but with one major difference there. So let us see what they individually mean. So when I talk about diffusion, diffusion is movement of solute from high concentration to low concentration. So like if I have made a NaCl solution, which is the common salt solution in water, if I have a beaker, okay, and if I connect this to another beaker and I have say only 2 NaCl or say 3, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, let me have one more 10. So now this is a beaker with high concentration of NaCl. This is a beaker with low concentration of NaCl. So according to the definition of diffusion, the movement of NaCl will happen from higher concentration to lower concentration. So this will be the movement. And is this movement, like how long does this go on? This goes on till both the sides attain equilibrium. Okay, so if you want to draw it, you will say that if here there will be 5 and here there will be 5. Sorry, I have drawn one more extra. So 5 and 5. So this is equilibrium. This is a process which does not require energy. So no requirement of energy, and hence it is also known as a passive mechanism because it does not require energy in the form of ATP, for example, because these two processes, diffusion and osmosis, they happen in a living system, in living organisms, they happen in cell. So that's why a cell is known to carry out the metabolic activities. Cell is a basic and fundamental unit of life, and it metabolizes glucose. Glucose oxidation happens, and then energy in the form of ATP is generated in the cell. So for a lot of other biochemical pathways, ATP is required, but for diffusion and osmosis, there is no requirement of ATP. It is simply a movement, or it is simply the movement of solute from higher gradient to lower gradient. So the movement happens, it is also known as down the gradient movement. Okay, because this movement has a direction. It always follows a direction from higher concentration to lower concentration. Now when we talk about osmosis, osmosis is also the similar process from higher concentration to lower concentration, but here now it is the movement of water molecules. Okay, it is the movement of water molecules. Now water is a very important ingredient, and in the living cell also it requires water. So now how actually is a living cell? So a living cell, for example, if I draw this, is it really that compact? Like if this is a cell membrane, we know that the cell is enveloped in a cell membrane. So this cell membrane separates the cell or seclutes the cell from the external environment. So this external environment can be like, it can be blood. If you're talking about a microbial cell, then depending upon wherever that microbial cell is, it could be in water, it could be say in rocks, it could be in soil. So the cell membrane secludes the cell, that is the internal part of the cell, from the external environment. Now in the internal part of the cell there are a lot of organelles. If you have studied, you will know that there are say mitochondria, there are Golgi complex, there is a nucleus. So there are a lot of other organelles in the cell as well. So now is the cell membrane really like this, like so compact? No, it is not like that. The cell membrane has gaps in between. You can also call that the cell membrane is porous. There are pores. These pores are very essential because there are certain things that the cell will require from the external environment. So for example, O2, oxygen molecules, are required by the cell. So the cell has to take it. So the movement of oxygen happens from higher concentration area to the lower concentration area here. So it happens by the process of diffusion also. Now when we talk about osmosis, it involves a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, you know what is the meaning of permeable? Permeable means that it allows the intake. Okay, not permeable means it does not allow, and semi-permeable means it is selective. So the size of the particle that is going to enter in the cell, the size of the particle which is going to come outside the cell, will be decided by the membrane. So this is a very selectively permeable membrane. It will only allow those molecules which are required by the cell depending upon their size. So the cell requires oxygen from the external environment, so the semi-permeable membrane will allow the entry of O2 molecules inside. At the same time, because of the metabolic activities, the cell also produces carbon dioxide. Now, this carbon dioxide cannot be kept inside the cell. It is toxic. So, the cell has to give it out. So, the CO2 molecules also can travel through these membranes. So, now if I want to draw a cell, I will draw it like this. Now, these gaps in between are the porosity. They tell you that the cell membrane is porous as well as it is selectively permeable. Okay, yeah, I hope this is clear. So now what happens is, now let me take the same example. Like if we have, say, the cell requires certain ions. So now imagine that these are the NaCl particles inside the cell, and there are NaCl particles outside also in the external environment. Okay, so the number of NaCl outside is more than the number of NaCl inside. So I would say that the concentration is higher outside, the concentration is lower inside. Okay, now this, when we talk about a solution is always in a solvent. So when I make NaCl solution, I'll have water molecules also here. So let me use the blue dots as water molecules. Now inside also water molecules are there. Okay, now if you want to count, you can, but just looking at this picture, I can say that the concentration of water molecules inside is higher and outside is lower. When we talk about osmosis, osmosis is the movement of water molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration. So here we will not talk about the movement of NaCl. Even if NaCl wants to travel, say, from higher to lower, it will get stuck somewhere here because of the semi-permeable membrane. The size of the NaCl particles is huge and they may not be allowed. They will not be allowed to go inside. Is it only NaCl? We have taken an example, but in the real, whatever happens inside the cell, there are particles like protein particles or sugar particles, which are extremely bigger in size, and they cannot enter because the semi-permeable membrane is highly selective and it does not allow the entry of such big particles. So now what is going to happen is the water molecules will move from a higher concentration area to the lower concentration area through the semi-permeable membrane. So the membrane only allows the movement of water, which is smaller in size, water molecule, and also carbon dioxide also can be given out. Oxygen also can be taken in. So this is about osmosis. Osmosis also does not require any energy here in the form of ATP. So both of them, diffusion and osmosis, can be termed as passive mechanisms. Okay, I hope I was clear, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, thank you.